Hey guys, it's Amanda. I'm kind of new here. So, I guess we're kind of following then that making mom's meals, Iowa cuisine that my husband's family has always done. One of the things that he's loved is ham balls. Well, we're going to make them. So today I have a pound of ham loaf and a recipe for way more than I am willing to make because there's only like 2 of us. 3 if you count our dog. I'm using this recipe as like suggestions, hints, ideas, but on the loaf part because it's essentially meatloaf, but with ham instead of beef. And instead of graham crackers instead of crackers or oatmeal or whatever you use in your meatloaf, this uses graham crackers. I know, that sounds weird. I was not aware of this food item until my husband said, oh, he loves them. His mom makes them for all the holidays. I never heard of them. So, you know, not my Iowa family, but his Iowa family, and they're pretty darn good. So what I did at this point is I needed like half a cup of graham cracker. So I took out my aggression. I smushed the snot out of them. I took out my rolling pin, put them in a Ziploc, and beat them. So I threw an egg in here. The recipe I have said throw in some whole milk, and I am using what I have on hand. So I have some non-fat dry milk that I reconstituted, and I did about 1/3 of a cup to, I don't remember how much milk, what powder I went in. And then it said graham cracker crumbs and dehydrated minced onion. Well, there we go. And so what I have now is some gloves. So I am putting the gloves on, and I'm going to smush this all together. So smush it all together like you would a meatloaf. And one thing I know with using gluten-free flour or oatmeal, whatever, you need to let that stuff soak for a few minutes. So I'm going to probably let it's all squished together. I'm going to let it soak for a few minutes. I'll be right back. So at this point, what we do is we make the balls. We make sure that's soaked in all the stuff, you know, gotten a little more solid, and we make balls. Now, we want our ham balls to all be about the same size. I have one of these dealies. It's like a mini ice cream scoop. That'll work just fine. I'm putting it into a square glass dish, and we're just going to try and make balls all about the same size. Am I the only one who keeps giggling at the fact that I have to talk about balls? Yeah, so anyway, basically, you just make meatballs. All the same size for equal cooking. Seriously, it's hard to be a grown-up. I have enough. I'm going to make it like a ham loaf. It's going to taste the same. It's just going to be in a different format. I may have picked a pan too small, so we're just making it a loaf, which doesn't sound any better than balls. Alright, so how this worked is, well, I don't want to make the balls. I didn't grab a big enough dish to make all the balls. And I said, you know what? Redoing it! So in the recipe linked below, it said to use ketchup. And well, I have all these packets, so I just opened the ketchup. And opened. And opened. I needed about 1/2 cup of ketchup for about 1/3 of the recipe. If you're making the whole recipe, you need 1.5 cups. And that's a lot of packets. I didn't quite have enough, so after I opened all the packets, I had some barbecue sauce from chicken nuggets and fast food restaurants. So I added that. And then the recipe said, hey, add brown sugar. And I thought, well, we'll do that. But there's a lot of sweetness in the barbecue sauce, so we'll wait on that. And I also had some mustard packets because the recipe also called for dried mustard. Well, I have mustard packets. We're using that. Similar thing. And because the recipe also calls for vinegar, I figured, between the mustard packets and the vinegar, we would be okay. And it asked for cider vinegar. Well, I can't stand the smell of cider vinegar. But, and I had some sweet and sour sauce. I forgot about that. Anyway, so for vinegar, instead of actual vinegar, I used pickle juice. Yeah, I had an empty jar or nearly empty jar of pickles, and so I used the pickle juice from there. And I guess that was what my husband's mom did. There's a brown sugar, and there's the pickle juice, and mix it all up. I have a baby whisk, it's adorable, and pour it all over the loaf. See, I'm doing it. Loaf, meat sauce. And then you bake it in the oven at 350 for like an hour. So currently we are venting some potatoes that we have in our Instapot, but this is the ham loaf, and it looks delicious. My husband says it smells just like ham balls from when he was a kid, but this is way easier doing it as a loaf, trust me. We did some roasted carrots that I had in the oven, and then I'll have buttered potatoes. I will show you guys what my plate looks like when we're all ready. So this is our plate. I have the ham loaf, the carrots, and some red potatoes that we grew in the garden this past year. I know I'm going to burn my mouth on this. I know it. The carrot is good. See, what I did is while I was baking the loaf, I tossed it in olive oil, threw it on a sheet pan, and seasoned it with some fry seasoning from Freddy's. So it's like Lowry seasoning salt, but in packets. And it's delicious. So, yeah, glad I did that. Okay. The potatoes are steaming. I'm not putting that in my mouth. I'll burn my face off or something. But let's try this. That's really good. Hey, honey?
Yes.
Does it taste like your mom's?
It does.
The hub says it tastes like his mom's. And I used up a bunch of packets. Ketchup, barbecue, I had some mustard, and pickle juice. I win.